Well, for those of you watching, thank you for joining us here. And we've got Josh. And Josh, I don't want to butcher your last name. How do you pronounce it correctly?
Zaglowski. And then, yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, well, Josh is going to tell us all about the ERC program here. I've been trying to get the word out to as many people as I can. So if you're watching this, let's see what Josh has to say. So I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, thank you. My company, and I'll go over kind of what how this even transpired and what this is. Basically, what this is, if you got PPP, if you're a business owner or you know business owners, this applies to you or them. Even them, as we'd love to help as many companies as we can. But if you also got PPP money, during the pandemic, this definitely you want to make sure you spend probably about just 15 minutes with us, maybe 20, and kind of go over what this is. Who I am. So name is Josh Zaglowski. There's my Instagram. I'll put my Instagram up there. This is my family, 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. And what I do for a living is I have this company, ERC, that we started about almost a year ago. It was in April of 2021. And you'll find out why it's not that old in a bit. But what I've done in the past is I'm an entrepreneur. Main thing is commercial real estate. So I buy a lot of and sell, obviously, a lot of flex, industrial, medical office, and retail, a lot of triple net lease assets. I've been in real estate for almost 19 years. So before that, I was obviously flipping homes and doing wholesale deals. But what is ERC or ERTC? Stands for Employee Retention Credit or Employee Retention Tax Credit. So in the CARES Act, where PPP sits or sat, in March of 21, President Biden signed in the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 into law. So that was in March of 21. We started our company in April of 21. So you can see why. It was mostly because the story goes, I saw that this was another opportunity to receive some assistance from the government, just like PPP was or EIDL. And when I saw this, I reached out to about 3 or 4 different professionals. I Googled ERC credit, which I encourage you to do. That way you can kind of see it's legit. You'll go through a couple different ads on Google, and then you'll hit the irs.gov website. But basically, this kind of illustrates what this is. So under the CARES Act or the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, that was amended. There's the EIDL and the PPP. That was done through the SBA. And you're probably familiar with that. Yep. The Employee Retention Tax Credit is done through the IRS. So the story goes is I saw that this was an irs.gov program. So who do I call? I call my tax professional. I called my CPA, which he's done really well for me, and he still does well for me. We're not trying to take your CPA away from you. And I'll tell you, don't get mad at your CPA, your tax professional, for not knowing this, because they'll know about it. I would say, because every single one of them I talked to knew about it, but says, man, it's adds too much to my to what I do as far as a business, and I just don't specialize in that. So, but it's actually a payroll credit. So I reached out to ADP, Payroll, or Paychex, Gusto. These are automated softwares that they don't do this type of program. They help with your existing accounting and your taxes. So that's where this became an opportunity, because we're like, hey, we can go help out, thousands of companies, receive this money. And they put $400 billion to this. $400 billion. They put $500 billion to PPP number 1. So, and then you can get up to $26,000 per W-2 employee. Yeah, $26,000 per W-2 employee. So you have 10 employees, you can have an extra $260,000 for your business. Now, this is more of just like the second word, retention. This is a reward for retaining employees through the pandemic. The part of it is to add the stimulus to add things within the business. Like I've had a pizza company that they've received over $450,000. They want to add 2 more stores to their portfolio. And what does that do? That adds more jobs. And that's the whole purpose of this program. How much is the credit? We talked about that. It's W-2 employee based. So if you're 1099, you're not going to be able to take advantage of it for your business. But please, send someone over to Michael, and we want to help as many businesses as we can, because we really do feel that we help people first, things come later, right? So this is up to $26,000 per W-2 employee. We'll go over how you calculate that number. And, question is, how many employees do you guys have? What's the cost? Let's get right into that. I usually kind of always put this slide at the end, but I thought, let's keep it in the middle, because people are already wondering, how much is this going to cost me if I go get this money? Well, kind of what we want to do is help people. We're a for-profit business, obviously, but we also saw that when this credit is done, this is almost like a tax refund check. This is a check that you can receive to do something with your business, and it's fully forgiven the day you receive it. What we saw, because the IRS takes almost 6 to 8 months to send this check out right now. They're trying to cut that down to 4 months, but right now it's 6 to 8 months. So what we decided is like, hey, we're not going to charge up front for our services. We're actually going to take the client from A to Z. Like, they're going to go on, they're going to answer questions. It's going to take them 5 or 10 minutes. They're going to upload some tax documents that we have to verify. We're going to calculate some stuff. And then we're going to come back and say, okay, you were approved for $123,024. Do you want us to file? So at that point, you actually have an opportunity to bounce, to leave, to not use our services. But right when you click it, we then file it within 72 hours. We send it to the IRS. And then once you receive the money, we charge 15% of whatever that credit is. So we get paid if you get paid. And that's the direction we wanted to go as a company, to make sure we can help people. But at the same token, we are paying for a lot of the costs up front. So how do I qualify? And that kind of goes over what this slide is here. This is the ERC table. Basically, without looking at this and getting so confused, if you look at this max credit per employee, so in 2020, you can get up to $5,000 per W-2 employee. In 2021, you can see quarter 1, 2, and 3, you can get up to $7,000 per employee per quarter. Okay, so 21,000 in 21 and 5,000 in 2020 comes to $26,000, obviously, altogether. Now, where it is if you have 100 or less employees in your business, W-2, full-time, you can get $5,000 per employee. If you have under 500, you can get up to 7,000. So in other words, like, let's say you have 80 employees, you have an opportunity to get the full max credit of $26,000. Okay. If you have 120 employees, you won't be able to get money for 2020, but you have an option to get money for 2021, up to $21,000 per employee per quarter. Okay. Where this program, so if if you want to do it, but if you want to reach out to your tax professional, just say, hey, do you guys tell me more about this ERC, this employee retention credit? There's kind of a myth. Number one is we specialize in this. We're probably helping almost 300 companies a day right now. And we actually have CPA firms, payroll companies that are referring their book of business to us, because it's not scalable for their type of work, right? You'd have to get a whole nother department of probably 20, 25 people to kind of service one business that maybe have 300 clients or so. But where a lot of myths come into play is, your tax professional might have said, hey, you actually didn't qualify because you made too much money in 21. That was true summer of 21. Okay. They amended this as early or as late as October of 21. What they did is, if you now had, so it's an 20% decrease in revenue. So you can see that right here, decline from comparing your 19 quarters to your 21 quarters, or did you have a supply chain disruption to your business? Now, that could be a few things. Like I was talking to a group today that they said, although they made more money in 21, they were unable to go do trade shows in 20 and 21 due to the pandemic. And that was a big part. That was probably 30%, maybe 35% of their business was trade shows in 19. So you want to compare what you did before to now, because we think of supply chain, we think of widgets, right? We think of what's sitting on the port in California or in Florida or the Eastern Seaboard. We think of a widget as a supply chain. No, it's, there was shutdowns that hurt your supply as a business. Like we have an attorney firm that says, our supply is courthouses, and they are constantly getting shut down. We're getting constantly delayed. That is our supply. So, you want to kind of go over what your situation is. Now, you might want to say, oh, well, I want to hurry and get an appointment with you guys and kind of go over stuff. Best thing for you to do, and I'll give you the website here in a little bit, is you want to go to the website and you want to just answer about 5 or 10 questions. We never ask for a credit card. We never ask for money, but you're going to go through those 5 or 10 questions based on your business. Then you want to quickly upload the documents that we ask based on your answers, because again, it's fully automated. And at that point, we then come back to you if we need some more information on your supply chain or your documents. Okay. So we kind of went over this a little bit. 100 employees in 2020 or 2019, 500. But I put this up here too. This actually benefits 501As and 501Cs. So if you're a nonprofit or you work with a nonprofit, you definitely want to kind of take a look at that. Now, people always ask, what can you use the money for? This was a question I had today from a payroll company that wants to refer their business. Anything. You can use it for anything. So if you have dividends to your partners, you can use it to them. If you want to start, another pizza joint, if that's what you do, or whatever your business is that you want to propel that business, that's what you want to use it for. In my opinion, don't go try to buy that new boat that you've been craving for a long time. All that, it's supposed to be the purpose of it, but you can use it for anything. If you do, choose that boat, that's your choice. Now, why hasn't my CPA told me about this? Just like I said earlier, is don't get mad at your CPA or your tax professional. This is amending your 941s, number one. Your CPA deals with your 1040s, your 1120s. In other words, I've probably seen about 10% of the time when someone says, actually, my CPA does my payroll too. Usually they don't. But if they do, this is a payroll credit. And like I said, these bigger companies, QuickBooks, ADP, Paychex, Gusto, not doing it. And actually, coming back to this slide, this program ended Q3 of 21. So you might, right then, you might, wait, then why are we here? Well, because it did end. And you might get, that's another myth. But we can amend your 941s to receive this up to 3 years. However, I talked to how there was $400 billion to this. Just like PPP number one, once it was gone, it was gone. So what I would encourage you is to make sure you hurry and go do this, only because once it's gone, there's nothing else they can do. They'll send it back and say, you know what? Sorry, the money has been used, so you won't be able to take advantage of this. So the quicker you do it, and believe me, there's been more and more banks reaching out to us in the last little bit, because now they're seeing hey, we want to start making sure our clients can get help with this. So who's your advocate? We are ERC specialists. And who we are is we specialize in helping businesses claim the ERC tax credit. It was created by business owners for business owners. And it's mostly because I took the approach of the Who Not How book. Again, when I said the first about myself, I'm a commercial real estate guy, but I knew that I needed more who's rather than figure out how to do it around me. So rather than me trying to figure it out how, I wanted to get people that specialize in this. And then we developed, different departments, a partnership, and then, kind of expanded it from there. We're up to 75 processors. And I mean, I won't show you the picture, but there's 25 new ones in training today for the last Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And we're probably going to be up to about 125 to 150 by end of Q1. That's how much this has been really kind of increasing for us. It's a very automated process. I put that in there. Whereas, nothing against your tax professional, but that's going to be a manual process. And that's why they don't usually do it. Okay. And I'd be surprised, if you call your CPA or your tax professional and say, hey, I just heard about this. Can you help me with this? I mean, if they haven't told you about it now, I imagine they don't. But if they say, yeah, I can help you with that. Why didn't I tell you about it before? So, we just want to help as many people as we can. And we have it very automated in regards to that. So why ERC specialists? We ensure to get you the most tax credit available while staying within the law. This is a black or white program. In other words, it's actually really hard to commit fraud because your 941s have already been submitted with the IRS, right? So if we wanted to create fraud, we would have to kind of go back to and say, no, actually, back in 2019, I actually had 30 employees, not 2. Well, you did a quarterly report at 2. that's something we just can't do, right? And there's just no way to do it. So that's why within staying with the law, we definitely want to make sure we do that. We help people qualify. Again, we only get paid if you get paid. And that's where we charge the 15%. So we're incentivized to be with you the whole step of the way. So some people might ask, what's my audit risk? Okay. I get those questions here and there, very low, but number one, your payroll usually doesn't get a audit. However, because of that amendment of the supply chain, if your company ends up getting more than $2 million of credit, we have a department now that we're going to reach out to you before we file it to make sure you have the right documentation showing that supply chain. It could be suppliers email sending you like, hey, I know that we're going to send you lumber on Friday. We're 2 weeks out. We're a week out. We're 16 weeks out on windows right now in construction. So that's the stuff we'll come back to you to make sure we have that for a file, just so you know. And that is something they added because of supply chain. Okay. Our director of fulfillment, and when you're on our site, you can go to the About Us page. It talks about her. Her name's Jerry Bone. She's certified payroll professional with the American Payroll Institute, active member of the American Payroll Association, and current and sits on the board of the Utah APA chapter, the American Payroll Association chapter. So how do we get started? And before we talk about the getting started, as far as the logistics on how things work is you're going to go online and I'm going to show the website here in a second. You're going to fill out questions. It's going to take you 5 or 10 minutes per entity. So if you have a couple of companies, just know that you're going to be about 5 or 10 minutes. Then we're going to tell you these documents that you need to upload based on your answers, your 941s for 6 quarters, basic PPP info, and then payroll reports. And we're going to tell you step by step how to go get those. Like if you have a QuickBooks account or whatever, we have a lot of automated stuff to help you with that. In addition, we have a department that in 3 days, if you've done the questions but you haven't uploaded, we'll reach out to you and just make sure you get that over if you need help. Then once you get them uploaded, if you do it all yourself, great. It takes us about 7 to 14 days, calendar days, to come back to you and say, this is what you've been approved for to the penny. Do you want us to file? And then at that point, you hit a DocuSign, we send it off, and then we're about a 6 to 8 month wait with the IRS to receive that money. They're trying to get down to the backlog of 16 weeks. That's what it talks about right here. The website is ERCmoney.com. Again, ERCmoney.com. And that's going to take you to the website. You're going to hit begin qualifying, and then you're going to go through the questions with that. If you have questions before you want to get started, hit the contact us page, and then we'll schedule an appointment with you. We're about 4 or 5 days out to have a face-to-face conversation or a Zoom, not a face-to-face, but a Zoom or a phone call. So based on these new employees, we wanted to condense that, but right now that's the reality of it right now. And then thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Michael, what questions do you have, or do we have questions from people?
Yeah. If anybody wants to throw any questions in the chat here, definitely go ahead and do so. I do have a couple questions for you in talking with some people the last couple of days. I think you covered this pretty well, but can you clarify again, like what is the movement of money? So if I apply, my business applies, we do receive a credit, the Treasury sends me a check, or does that just go as a line item on my taxes and then it deducts my taxes, or how does that work?
Yeah, good question. So number one is, let's say someone was approved for $1 million. Let's say 100,000, okay, even, just for number's sake. 15% will be, so when they get everything done, it gets sent to a national escrow company, because we always tell people we don't handle the money ever. So the check gets sent to a national escrow company. 15% will get sent to us. 85% will get sent to the client. They'll get taxed on 85%. However, they work it out with their CPA. They can put it against their payroll wages that they paid. That'll help out a lot. Or they can kind of tax it as ordinary income, however they kind of structure that, but that will be up to them and their tax professional.
Okay, perfect. All right, that answers that. And then as far as, and you talked about if you get greater than $2 million, there's some extra like documentation to make sure that everything is done correctly there. Is there any other like burden of proof of loss or supply chain or anything when you're in that lower price point? Say if you get a check for $50,000 or a credit for 50,000, is there any burden of proof to show like, yes, I suffered these losses?
Well, number one, we tell the business owner they have to attest to it, right? And that's part of the attestment. Now, with that, we want them to have valid background. Nothing will happen like as far as a second look or anything from the IRS unless it's above that threshold that we talked about. And actually what we're doing in addition to that, I didn't really talk about that, but even though the threshold's 2 million in our business, if you're more than 1.25, we're actually going back to the business owner before we file it to still get that information. A couple emails and then a half a page letter typed up, signed by the business owner is what we're putting in the file. And that was suggested to us from our one of our consultants, Mary Slauson, on the About Us page. So she worked for the IRS for 26 years. She's in the private sector now, but she has worked with big forensic type of auditing. And she has given us all this recommendations on how they're looking at things and all that. And she is what they call an expert witness. So the IRS still contracts her on certain big, accounts or files or whatnot. Sorry, I'm gonna.
Oh, I lost your audio, Josh. Oh, you're muted. There you go.
Oh,
Yep.
My bad. I just took off the screen.
Yeah, all good.
But yeah, so that's what we're doing as a business. Is we still want to kind of just cross that extra T, and mostly because again, this has been amended 5 times. I didn't even talk about how many times, but it's been amended 5 times, and we just maybe it gets amended again, and they decrease that 2 million to 1.5. Or whatever it is. We just want to be prepared for that. And they know too, by the time we actually file it and it's date stamped, it's whatever the program was at that time. So if we have to go back to the business owner, like Mary's already told us, they'll just contact you and say, hey, we're sending this application back because we just changed this. So can you get us, more proof? So it won't be an audit. It'll be like kind of a pushback to us to make sure we get that information.
Okay, perfect. That sounds great. I think that was really the big 2 things that came up. For those of you that are watching live, I will email you a link if you didn't get that website. Again, it's going to be ERCmoney.com, but I will certainly email you directly if you're watching this live right now. So I think that's it, Josh. I don't see any other questions here. If there are other questions that pop up along the way, people can just send them to me and I can field them to your team. Is that right? If it's a little bit confusing or more technical. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. All right, Josh. Well, thank you very much for coming on here and telling us how all this works. It's an exciting thing. It sounds really, a lot of people say now it just sounds too good to be true. And they're a little bit worried and concerned. But I encourage everybody, go on the IRS website, look it up for yourself, read the language, read what you can and cannot do. It's very clear. And from what I know about Josh, and we're in the same mastermind together, he's good people. He's not going to lead you wrong. They've got a good background, and again, check everything out, do your own due diligence, and hopefully we can help you out.
Awesome. Thanks again, man. Take care.
Thanks, Josh.